Hey everyone, hope you are doing awesome. Welcome back to my channel PEGAhut with another video. Thanks everyone for subscribing to my channel, and if you haven't hit the bell icon yet, please do so you won't miss any of my videos. Please hit the like button and leave me a comment or feedback if you like the video or the way I have explained. As many of you requested to cover the section part in PEGA, and I'm pretty sure you guys when you start PEGA, most of you would have to work in a section, which is the first step which everybody gets, and it's quite crucial at the same time. So as you guys have requested, that's where I thought, okay, maybe this is what I'm going to do for next couple of days, so that you will be an expert in the section and UI and how you're gonna design this. So what I have done is, first we are going to discuss and we're gonna deep dive on the section UI and PEGA UI gallery part. Now I just wanted to ask, if do you even know that PEGA has a UI gallery which explain on how the control works? So if you haven't aware of this, then please do comment me in the comment section. It's okay, we'll learn something or other, and this is where I'm going to explain today all the control that PEGA has, and all the control how PEGA works. So PEGA has a UI gallery which shows you all the control, and it also gives you a section, and also it will allow you to test and see how the control works. So today we are going to discuss more about theoretical aspect of how those control works, so that depending on your requirement which control to use for. And in subsequent videos, what I'm going to do is we are going to learn about how those control works in practical mode. Probably we can take some use case and use those control in the practical hands-on videos. So first you need to understand where exactly we have the section. So any class, if you go in the user interface, you will have this section, and you by now you would know how to use section and all. So just get into the section. As you in the section, you will see a lot of control are there, a lot of control over here in structural, data capture, picker and action, and data display. So you have all these controls to use in the section by dragging and dropping. Over here, how I have used, this is a text input control, this is a dynamic layout, this is a button, so this is a table. So all this control you can use from here. Now how would you learn what control does what? Obviously when you are new, it's very hard for you to learn what control does what, because you can't just drag and drop one by one and see. It's gonna be a little hard. So to do that, PEGA has given a beautiful way to explore that. So if you go to configure user interface, there is something called gallery, and then click on the UI element. Now if you click on the UI element, this is going to be a hub for all the UI element. Now when I say hub, what you need to know is you can go and learn each and every UI element, and you can also understand how does it work. Now I'll just walk you through on a very high level on this area, so I'll just minimize this one. So as you could see, PEGA has got some showcase. Showcase means a business use case, right? Now here it has got OOTB business card. So for example, if I click on this showcase, it just tells how a business card will be designed. Now if I put instead of Bob, if I put my name Srikanth, and then it automatically gonna change the Srikanth Baker. So basically this is kind of a configuration which PEGA has come up with, and if your project needs the exact configuration, you can always refer to that and reuse this model. Now here, how do you know how it works? To know how it works, you need to click on view design time configuration. At the moment you click on view design time configuration, it will take you to that UI, and you can go and explore those UI on how PEGA has done internally, or how it is working internally. So in this session, what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to tell you how it works internally. I'm going to first explain, which is a crucial stuff, and you need to understand what each individual control does. And then in subsequent session, I'm gonna pick one control and going to create some short video, so that you'll just understand that control and can implement in your real-time project. So now let's go back to the UI gallery. So return to UI gallery overview. So similarly, you have all this kind of showcase, is kind of use case where PEGA has given you on how it will look like. Now let's go back to the control one. Now in control, you will have a lot of options. So for example, business layout and basic controls, layout and containers, and sample and combination. Let's start from the layout and container, and the first step should be dynamic layout, which is our the favorite one. So as you guys know, dynamic layout, what does it do? Basically, each and every control that we put in, we always put inside a dynamic layout. Why? Because it's gonna help you when you are using in multiple device. So automatically it's going to adjust your size. You don't need to specifically mention size and need to specifically mention the device. So whatever device, be it tablet, be it phone, be it mobile, be it laptop, if you put any control under dynamic layout, it's going to adjust depending on the screen size. And also there is something called primary secondary concept, which I'm going to talk to you guys later on. This is not part of this session, wherein if you log in from laptop, because you got a big screen, you can see all the property. When you log in from mobile, depending on the configuration, you can only see those property you configured from mobile. So that's what dynamic layout is all about. Now how from a UI perspective, how you can design dynamic layout. So as you could see, dynamic layout on a high level has been divided into 3 categories. The first category is inline category, where whatever control you put, for example, this is first name, last name, address, everything is inline, as you could see, right? Now, for example, see how the screen is big, so preference is over here. Now, if I would reduce the screen size, let's say if I would reduce my section size, I'll just open this part. So can you see, because the screen became, because this entire section width has reduced before, so what happened is automatically it came to next line. So that's what dynamic layout is all about for you. Now in line, what will happen, it will stay in line. The moment it reduce the size of the if you increase the size of the width, it will be in line. If you reduce, it's gonna break and go into the next line. So similarly, you can put all the control in same line. Coming back to inline grid double. Now inline grid double, what it does, let's say you wanted to display those property into 2 columns. So during that time, what you can do is you can choose dynamic layout inline grid double, and whatever control you put, you already have 2 columns, and you can choose column 1, column 2 depending on what you want to show. You have also inline grid triple, where you can show 3 columns. Now come back to the stacked one. Stacked one is our default one. Whenever you create a dynamic layout, if you go for default one, it will be automatically stacked. So the moment you put one control on, it will come like, how normal way it is coming, one underneath another one. So this is what the stacked one for you. So that's all about dynamic layout and how you're gonna perform. Now, what all configuration you are going to do on dynamic layout and all these things, that I'm going to explain in a hands-on session of a dynamic layout. So next, move to, now we have finished dynamic layout. Let's move to layout group. Now in the layout group, what is the beauty of a layout group? Now layout group, let's say you got 3 sections: general section, setting section, property section. In these 3 sections, you wanted to show them as a tabbed one. Now see, for that you can use a layout group, where you can choose the layout group would be tab, and then you can choose the moment you choose tab, automatically under layout group, let's say you got 3 dynamic layouts. One is general, and you populate those sections. Another dynamic layout setting, you populate that section, and property. So it will come in a tabbed one, and then you can go each tab, you click on each tab. So that's tab for you. So if you have any scenario where you need to show any, the section in tabbed one, then you can always go for this layout group. Now this let's go to the accordion. So what it does is it actually basically expand and suppress. So if you see the same 3 settings, instead of tabbed, is going to show you in a expand and suppress manner, and you can always expand and suppress. Now coming back to menu, menu is nothing but how you got this, all this, these all are menu. Now here what happened is, now if I have got a menu, and then what will happen is it will come in a drop down manner. The moment you choose general or setting, if I choose setting, it will show the setting section. If I choose properties, it will show the property section. And if I choose the general section, it's gonna show you in the general section. So that's how menu works. Now stacked one, the stacked one is again the default one. So before that, the stacked dynamic layout which I have shown you, wherein you put different controls which were stacked. Now these are the different section. That is the only difference. Now layout group, when you choose stack with general dynamic layout, setting dynamic layout, and property dynamic layout, they're going to be stacked with each other. Okay, so this is all about my layout group. Now coming back to the modal dialog, right? So modal dialog is nothing but the pop-up. So anytime you do something and then you get a pop-up, right? So that is what modal dialog for you in PEGA. Now a modal dialog can be implemented on a button, on a link, and also on a menu item. Now if you see, and there are also some animation effect for modal dialog, that's what I'm going to show you. So now if you wanted to implement a modal dialog on a button, the moment you click on this button, now this modal dialog will appear. Now what kind of modal dialog you would do? There are 3 modal dialog. In fact, there are 4 modal dialog, 4 way of doing it. One is your standard size, which is this one. This is the standard, by default PEGA comes. One is the fixed size, and the standard size again vary depending on which device you do. And this fixed size is not always we do, because it's not flexible, because it's a fixed size, it's always going to be set. So you have to be very careful on if you have access to if your application have access in multiple devices, you need to make sure which size you are going for. So always go for standard, but if you have a requirement that it has to be fixed size and you have considered all the permutation and combination, you can choose this fixed size. And there is something called large fixed, so this is the bigger one. Also there is something called overlay. So basically it's a modal dialog, but what it will do is it will overwrite your existing section and it will just show you the whole whole screen itself. So that is also there. Similarly, you can use the modal dialog on click of a link button. Now this is link, same large fix and larger fix, and you also can do that same in the menu item. So you can use a menu and you can put a modal dialog on the action and event button. Now here in modal dialog you can have multiple kind of animation effect. You know how in PowerPoint, if you would have seen my videos, you have this animation effect, right? It can fade, you can come, it can bounce and all these things. So that's why. So if I click on grow, as you could see, it didn't pop up quickly, it just slowly popped up, as you could see. Now bounce from left is gonna come and bounce from left. Similarly, if you go for fade in, it will just slowly pop up. And similarly, if you put pull right, it's pretty much bounce from that, but it just is not gonna bounce, it's just gonna come and stay. So this kind of animation effect also you can use by using the modal dialog. Now the next one which will go is overlay. Now what does the overlay do? So if you see here, how in I think the best place would be hover. If I hover, you need to display a message. Now you can display a normal text message, but if you wanted to make it fancy and wanted to make it modal dialog, you can use for overlay. So basically the difference between it's also a modal dialog. The only difference between overlay and the other one will give you a pop-up and then you action on it. Overlay is going to be on the same level and in the same screen, as you could see. So if I click on standard, it's going to populate here instead of giving me a pop-up. So that's the difference between overlay and modal dialog. So this in this we have completed dynamic layout and containers and the use of this layout and container. So the whole idea for me is to explain you this in theoretical concept, so these controls are there and how to use them in the real time, and then we're gonna go to the practical mode. Now let's understand about a row and list based layout. So if you see, this row and list based layout will either needs a list or a page depending on the control that you use. Let's go first jump into dynamic layout group. Now you need to understand what is a dynamic layout group. So basically, if you ever have a scenario where you got a page list and you wanted to show each iteration of the page list as a row, right? Now underneath, so for example here if you see, the site service, tech service, marketing, site operation, software, system, technical, finance, they all are kind of each page list of a particular page list or from a database. Under that page list, it has got multiple person's name, another kind of page list where it has got all the details. Now if you ever come across the scenario where you have got a page list, underneath you got another page list and you wanted to show all the element on the UI, you're gonna go for dynamic layout group. Basically you get these are page list, these all headings are page list, and underneath whatever value you're gonna have, you can show that. Not only you do not need to have a multiple page list under this, you also can, you do not need to have a multiple property under page list. It can also have a single property if you wanted to. So it's up to you how you wanna configure. But only during this time, those kind of scenario you can use this one. So you can also read the definition here. Dynamic layout group can be configured using a data page or a type list. It allows the number of layout to be dynamically and creates repeating tabs where each tab corresponding to item of a page list. That's what I told. Each tab is an item of page list. This is page list 1, this is page list 2, like that. So dynamic layout group, I hope you understood. Let's go to hierarchical table. Now hierarchical table, when you're gonna do, I would give you a best example. Let's say you know how in an organization structure you got manager, and under manager you got a lot of people reportees, right? So if you wanted to show all the details, so this is what my manager and this is what my report is, let's say. So this if you wanted to ever show those kind of structure on the UI, you can go for this layout. Now one thing you need to remember, also another scenario wherein, let's say you wanted to show the list of parent, I mean, you know how in a real time you can have one parent case ID, underneath you can have multiple child case ID, right, which is linked to that parent, right? So those kind of scenario, if you wanted to show all the case IDs and you wanted to show or define what is the parent case ID versus the child case ID, this is going to be a beautiful control which will automatically organize all your case ID depending on the configuration. Now next, move to navigational tree. So basically navigational tree and hierarchical table, they both are pretty same. The only difference in navigation tree is, as you could see, it look and feel wise it's different. And if you wanted to just show the person's name here instead of the entire row, you can always opt for this one. And the moment you click on this, then you can fetch the detail. So that's our navigation tree for you. But yeah, they're pretty much same, and they all take the list as an input so that they can show. Now coming back to repeating dynamic layout, I've already created a video of repeating dynamic layout, which I'm going to, obviously, as part of the practical, one by one, I'm going to share you guys that. So basically repeating dynamic layout, you got a page list and you got all the detail and you want to repeat them in the section, as this section is going to be a free form. So if you see others are, they're going to be, they are kind of restrictive in a way they show, right? They are kind of restrictive. But in repeating dynamic layout, let's say you wanted to create a fancy section wherein you just wanted to randomly show and create your own way of doing it, then you can always opt for repeating dynamic layout, and depending on the property and style of the section, you can always show them in a repeating manner. Now going to table. Table is one of the easy and most used control that we have in PEGA. So basically, whenever you got a page list or a page group, then you can always configure that in a table so that it can show in a proper format. Now this ends my row list based layout. Now let's go to the basic controls. Now you guys gonna love this basic control because that's what you're going to use mostly in your day-to-day life. So let's understand any picker. So if you use any picker, what it actually does, it's a drop down, right? Now if you use this drop down, it will give you an option to search instead of, so let's say if I drop down, I can choose something, and if you got a big drop down, then it will give you a option to choose and option to search or type a string. Based on that, it will search and get you the detail. So this is what any picker will do. Now autocomplete. So autocomplete is another strong feature. Basically what it does, let's say you got some data and you wanted to populate that, then just type that any string, for example Amanda, right? So if I type any string, automatically it will match in the background and it will pull you all the data that is related to the string that you enter. You can always define how many characters it should search, and all these things you can define, which we're gonna see in practical zone. So this is what autocomplete, and mostly again been used in our PEGA UI. And button is the normal button, as you could see. On button, I mean we have various button, and you can basically use them and show them on the screen. And next is your chart. So basically what chart does is it will give you a pictorial representation of your data. Let's say if you got some calculation and you wanted to show them in a chart format, then you can use those calculation. Obviously, you can guess that it's gonna take a page list, and it will you can do count, you can do all this average, max, and all this function, and based on that you can populate the chart. Now next is checkbox. Checkbox is a normal checkbox, so you can always go for multi checkbox and single checkbox and all this thing. How we have this except terms and conditions, so those scenario you can use. Now date time is another popular control that we use. So in datetime there are three basically high level range and four low level range. So basically if you see, there are a standard, no typing, and drop down. Now in standard, what you can type and you can also choose. For example, you can type here something 21 something like that. You can also get to choose this one. Now when you choose, you can, because it's a date time, you can choose both date and time. Now no typing, it won't allow you any typing, you have to choose. So there is no way you can basically type. I can't type now. Now in the drop down, basically you will have individual things to choose from. So based on that, you're gonna choose the date and time. So that's the date and time. Now if I go to date range, so in the date range, so sorry, if I go to date, so again it has got standard, no type. So but it's the only difference between date time and date, it will only allow you to give the date, not the time. Now as you could on the right hand side, I forgot to show you for date time range, you got multi option to show on the screen. Depending, on the screen means over here. So you can choose in this way, 16 September 2020, whatever way you wanted to choose. You can always go for the presentation tab and change it, so that it will, whenever users select that, it will show in the same format. But internally PEGA store in as you guys already know, PEGA stores YYYY that format and converts that depending on the way you wanted to show. Now here also the same three section, and here in drop down you do not have time. Now if you go to date ranges are always you would see when you book ticket, train ticket, flight ticket or something, right? From and to date. So this is how you're gonna do 3, and then automatically it will tell 3 to 17. So you would have seen that in almost all the flight and train booking. Now time basically allows you to, so if you see here, if I go for standard, it will just give me a time, not the date. Now if I choose just apply, then automatically you can show this time in this format. Also you can have a drop down wherein you can choose the time here. So this is what our just date control does to us. So you can have varieties of way showing on this UI, and I'm going to show that in the hands-on section also. Now coming back to drop down, any picker drop down, they both are same. The only difference is any picker will give you an extra privilege of searching this one, but drop down would not. So you can see various of drop down, as you would have seen my other videos, and we have used drop down many times. Now again, this hierarchical table legacy, which I am not going to discuss, it's pretty much same that hierarchical table. So let's go to icon. Now when you use icon, so if you remember, most of the time if you go any website, contact us, you will have those icons where you will have Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp and everything. The moment you click on it, will allow you to do some action. So if you wanted to show something like that, then you can always go for icon and use an image so that it will show there, and then on click of that you can do some action on it. Now this is icon for you, and then if I go to link, so button and link, they're pretty much same, and the only way is button is going to look different, and link is basically allowing you to show in a different form, as you could see. Now for example, where we use the link, when you wanted to open a new URL window from your PEGA screen, then you can use the link, or you wanted to kind of make a link to go to another place, so you can use those kind of things. You just change that, and again in link you can use model dialog, everything that you can do in a button you can do in a link. Now going back to multi-select, again this is another feature. So basically multi-select, what it does is it will allow you to select multiple, so you get a drop down here, right? So it will allow you to select multiple things. Also you can choose whatever you want and then select it. So you can either choose this one. Now what is the difference between this multi-select and any picker? Now any picker will only store one value at a given point of time, where the input and it will be related to that property. But multi-select will have a page list property. The moment you select something, and automatically, let's say you select this one, then page list 1 will have this value, select this one, page list 2 will have this value. Similarly you'll have multiple. You can always choose how many numbers of page list or how many number of selection you can have. That also you can do, and you can do this contains starts with all these things. It basically comes from a report definition where the filtration will take place, which you're gonna see also during our hands-on section.
Now coming back to number, basically number is another critical field. I mean, everything is critical, to be honest. It depends on what kind of use case you have got, but yeah, these are the most popular one which we use. So number, you always have integer properties, and you want to show something in number. You will not be able to type a string, so it will give you how it will also allow you to how to format those numbers. How you see this comma here, so that way you can define, you can make it a decimal, you can make it an integer, or anyway. Now currency basically it is also part of a number. But the difference between currency and number is currency will kind of allow you to show that additional dollar sign, pound sign, and all this thing. But however, number will just give you the flat structure. Here, as you could see, now pound is over here and it is floating towards left. GBP is over here, it is floating towards right. So this kind of thing. You can also have the name pound sterling, and then you can have this 7-8. So similarly, currency is part of your number control, and currency will give you this privilege to show on the screen. Now moving to the next one is radio button. As you know that radio button, you can have varieties of option. You can make it vertical, horizontal. You can make it a couple of things. You can break after 2 items, just break it to another vertical. Here after you make it horizontal, after 2 items make it to a vertical. So depending on this, you can also choose. Now this is styled radio button, where you can change the color one. Now this is radio button. Let's go to rich text editor. The best example of rich text editor is when you write the Gmail, right? As you could see, you can make it bold. So for example, if I wanted to make it bold, I just make it bold, and then if I wanted to make it underline, I can do that. So basically in PEGA, if you have somewhere where you wanted to capture that as an email, or you wanted to capture this subject as your body, and then pass that as part of the email, then you can always go for rich text editor. Now slider is nothing but when you do the best example would be when you wanted to kind of edit a photo, and you can change the contrast, brightness, and all this thing. Then you would see in phone you got this slider. So basically it will help you to slide from one end to another one. So depending on the requirement, you can use that. Text area is kind of a bigger space where you can type a lot of things. So that's text area for you. Now if I go to move to the next one, text input, which is our common control, and you can have different ways of putting and text control. You can put a label, you can make it read only, you can kind of put any text you want, you can restrict your character and all these things in the text input. Now the last one, which is our timeline. Now basically timeline, as you could see, it's simple, like Facebook or any social network, they have got the timeline. That's where it got represent. Depending on the requirement, you can use it. So this is pretty much the basic control that we have, and the use of those control. Now for example, the samples and combination, I would expect you to go and have a look. Theoretical, basically sample and combination, as the name itself indicates, is gonna combine from these controls and gonna create a use case out of it. And similarly, you will have this extending your PEGA UI to AngularJS, React component, and value.js and d3.js. You have this option from where from PEGA UI you can always extend your UI to those respective AngularJS and React component. Okay, that's the end of my video. Hope you got all the knowledge about how these controls are being used in real time, at least theoretical knowledge, so you know when to use what depending on the requirement. Now my next video is going to be, I'm gonna pick each and every control, and I'm gonna show you how does it actually work and what all you can potentially do with those controls, and also I'm gonna take you through on let's say for example, if I go to section and in a dynamic layout I got multiple options, right? I'm gonna explain you all the necessary options that you would use in your day-to-day life, and we're gonna also work on action and event, and we'll discuss more about it in my subsequent videos.
That's it for today, and hope you understood clearly. Please hit the like button if you learned something or you like the way I have explained, and leave me a comment if you have any queries or feedback for me. It will help me to improve and also motivate me to post more concepts and videos. As I always tell, sharing is caring, so do share with others so people who do not know about my channel will be benefited. Stay tuned for my next video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do subscribe and click on the bell notification for my new video updates. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.